What's your name?
Hey, my name is Gregory Maro.
Gregory, you're going to have a minute to pitch.
Sounds
get
great.
some feedback. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Gregory, what are you building?
So I am building a SaaS solution for real estate brokerages to help them qualify, nurture, and convert their leads using an AI voice agent trained on years of sales calls, texts, and emails. So I've been building a real estate brokerage for about a decade now. And the one thing I constantly used to complain about, my colleagues are always complaining about around the country, is wasting money on leads. It's not that the leads are bad either. It's that they're giving them to real estate agents, and agents maybe call them, maybe text them, and then just drop the ball. One day I said enough is enough, and I spent 2 years building out an internal team of inbound sales agents. And I was able to use them to 10x our lead conversion. That's lead to contract, 10 times more than industry standard. And so that's why I'm here today.
That's about a minute. Good job.
So I was not sure I understood. Who is your customer profile? Who buys
My
it?
customer are real estate brokers, sales agents, anyone that really purchases leads in the real estate industry.
And your product is a voice agent.
My product is a voice agent, but it's also integrated with their CRM, so it's able to text, call, leave notes, do whatever an agent would be supposed to do.
How far along are you in sales? What's your sales traction?
We have no sales traction. The MVP is going to be finished early April, probably before this video comes out.
Most of my questions have to do with how this differentiates from genericized solutions to this sort of thing, because there's a lot in sales right now and in CRM. I'm sure you're hearing pitches like this every day. There's some obvious answers, right, when you get industry specific, but maybe let me prompt you in a way that says, tell us the non-obvious.
Yeah.
How do you think about this competing again with genericized AI-driven solutions
Just
for
go
this?
to a bunch of voice agents.
Yeah, and there's like HubSpot will have something, and Salesforce will have something, and obviously they might live in different software, so there's some integration. But I want to know the interesting ways in which they're going to be different. Yeah.
Yeah. So real estate brokers have been trying for years now to figure out the ISA problem, the inbound sales agent problem. And really no one has been able to do it effectively. And what I find with our competitors is...
define the problem.
The problem is qualifying, nurturing, and converting leads.
Why are you calling that they haven't solved the problem? What do you mean when you say that?
I mean, most solutions right now is either give your leads to a real estate agent and hope for the best, or you can give your leads to a foreign call center and hope for the best, or you can just use generic emails and texts that you hire a company to be able to inside your CRM to build that out. What differentiates us from our competitors, though, is the training data that not a lot of people have. I don't think anyone has the training data of ISAs that were able to convert leads 10 times better than just regular agents.
Why does that data let you convert leads better?
Oh, no. It's training data built on agents that convert leads better.
Right. But I guess why is that?
This is correct.
Why did they convert it 10x better?
Which leads me to my question of, does that genericize well into an AI agent?
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question.
So our competitors, when you listen to them, it's very generic, kind of like the genericize. And it sounds like you're just going down a script and you're just asking, you're answering one question, then you're answering another question, and then you're answering another question, and that's it. Maybe you get sent off to a human, maybe you don't. What separates us is real sales nuance, adaptable conversations, so that you can actually speak with a client, because no client ever calls you and just goes straight down the line answering questions. It's always different. And that sales nuance, that adaptability is what makes us different.
So your agent is able to change the script and ask different questions depending on the answers, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. That's the most important part.
I guess this goes to, I was almost not hoping for that answer. Let me tell you why. That feels like other people can do it, or it might be like a generally solvable problem, as in someone else approaching this could look for data either inside a customer or inside people using their tool over time. So I'll say it doesn't feel that satisfying to me from the outside, and it might be more satisfying.
You mean the only differentiation being the training data?
Yeah. Because I go to this, right? If no sales data is that unique. We've had other people who pitching SDR, AI SDRs on the stage, or a variety of other AI-enabled sales products. And I always mention it's like, you can't really sell that differently. And you're right to say it's different in the sense that like there's good and bad, and there's high converting and low converting. But the difference between a lot of high converting people across different firms or even different workflows of sales or different industries, like a good salesperson in a real estate context is probably very similar to a good salesperson in a restaurant operating system context, et cetera. And so I worry that the thing here is a sales skill and adaptability, a conversational AI thing that, again, is not that modable.
I'm afraid that you're in the trap of like building a moat that will be obsolete, right? So meaning that even if your solution right now is selling better than ChatGPT 4.5, I'm afraid that ChatGPT 5 or ChatGPT 6, just straight off the box, be a better salesperson than your solution.
If I could speak to that, we know that AI is data hungry. We know this. And it's not just the sales calls, texts, and emails, all these conversations, all of these interactions that we're going to be training our AI on. We're also going to be training it on actual sales. Specifically starting with real estate, we have an incredible knowledge base of ideas, thoughts, data that we've collected over the last decade that we are also going to be training this AI on. And it's, I don't think the GPT-5 will be able to do the same things unless you give it that kind of data.
Why do you believe that?
Because AI isn't smart without the right data.
Okay, so look, I use these tools every day, and I also caution people away from them sometimes. So, for example, I again probably talk to AI 60% of my day. I love every AI tool. I use them all. I pay $200 for OpenAI's. I pay for all the premiums.
So do I.
Yeah, it's great. At the same time, I tell job seekers, don't use it for resume creation. It's going to convert you to an average. Don't use it for autofilling job application. It's going to convert you to an average. It's bad at certain things, or to your point, it's not as high quality as something custom could be. However, as the foundational models get better, it will still deprecate point solutions or specific or custom solutions. So in the way that I say don't use a resume thing for AI right now, all of them are lying to you. You're going to sound generic and the same as everybody else. Don't use an AI resume builder. GPT-7 will be better than any resume builder built on GPT-6. That's the problem that I think still encapsulates this. There's still this motion. And this maybe this is the fundamental thing. I haven't heard a lot of workflow stuff here that creates other modability. Like, because it's some GPT wrappers are going to succeed. And I think maybe the best thing that those GPT wrappers can do is embrace their GPT wrapperness and say, okay, if I'm a GPT wrapper, it's going to be true that I can't beat these foundational model companies at their game. But what I can beat them at is the specificity that they will never care about in the workflows and in my audience and in, again,
and to add to that, is like basically heuristic that I look for when I'm considering investing in like AI vertical solution is how much more there beyond the chat interface, right? If I see a solution that's basically a very, very well-trained chat interface, that's a no for me, right? So, and that's what it seems here, right? A lead comes in, and there is a voice agent chatting to the lead, answer a question, that's it, right? To me, it seems like that, right? But I've actually invested in a voice agent company, but there, the angle was that besides just a voice that calls and talks, there is like so much more in workflow and in data capture. A workflow is one thing, is that the users actually have to go through a lot of things, and the users on the business side, right? So consumers have to go through a lot of things to actually get this tool to do the right calls. And then there is a inherent data capture for specific user. And it's not just training. I personally think that whatever like training mode you have now will be completely eliminated. It doesn't matter. In 2-3 years, GPT-5, maybe not, maybe GPT-6 will still sell better than your highly trained model. But what is different is knowing about this particular salesperson that you work for, or this particular customer you know everything about, or this particular house you're trying to sell, because maybe ChatGPT cannot like load that this house has this like specific selling point that would be good, right? So that's what I was looking
completely agree with you. I agree on all
Tell
points.
me about what of this is in your company.
So I view ChatGPT, any of the models really, as a utility, as electricity or water. And so building upon that utility is something that's going to be, like, we're all going to be doing that. We're all doing that here now.
It's funny, another guest judge on the show, John Frankel. Do you know John? FFVC.
Yeah.
He often refers to it as electricity, and he tells a whole story about how we shouldn't be referring to using AI all the time. It's just like electricity.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. And so those really specific use cases is what it comes down to. And I would love to get into workflow. I could talk about it for hours if you'd like, but with a 1 minute pitch, it gets a little difficult.
It's less of a feedback to your 1 minute pitch.
No, but I think it is feedback still to 1 minute pitch, because you're now a story among stories if you don't get to what's different. So everybody's pitching, I have proprietary training data, I'm going to fine tune a foundational model. So you can't pitch that unless you luck into an investor who doesn't realize that moat's going to go away. Most investors, have you raised money yet?
No.
Most investors are going to look at that and go, everyone else is saying the same thing. I would
decrease it, just say, we have training data, and that's it, right? But more talk about
that's going to be mostly credibility. So that's going to be you saying, I'm credible in this industry. You have the training data. You're going to be able to train on this. But that's all it is. It doesn't really get so I think most of your pitch has to be this other stuff.
So if you're thinking about electricity, your pitch sounds now like we have a washing machine that uses better electricity. That we developed electricity for our washing machine. It's like, no, just use electricity from the wall. Don't develop your own electricity, but tell me how your washing machine is different, right? So
that's excellent feedback. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess the question for you as we can wrap with this is when you think about what you're building on this, is it more going to be workflow around this one point of conversion, or are you planning to kind of horizontalize into all the things that these...
We're going into all the things. We're starting with real estate sales because that's what we've got. And as we expand into rentals, into commercial, and then ancillary services like mortgage and insurance, I want to be the guy who qualifies everybody for anybody that's buying the leads.
So I think this goes to something you've been saying to a lot of these founders around vision, right? Like if you sell this vision a little bit more in that pitch, also, and again, in a first meeting, not just in a minute pitch, you won't have another minute pitch like this, but the idea of like, here's the vision, here's, where we're beginning in building these models that allow us to do the V1 of this. And the interesting things about going this horizontal path is there's probably a lot of workflow that, again, OpenAI is never going to care to integrate with all of these tools and to care about the user experience.
Big one, yeah.
And so you get to tell that story instead. You still are telling the story of, I believe this data is going to make our models today better than the average, but you also tell this broader story, which is the reason, again, that my dollar in 10 years is going to be worth $1 billion, right? Is like, it's not going to be because of this fine tune. It's going to be because you are spreading that AI methodology, the better electricity, across a lot more surface area. That's what makes better electricity even interesting in the first place, is how can you tendril it into all the things and all the industries, all the workflows, et cetera, or sub-industries here that are really relevant and interesting. So just think about that as
I absolutely will. I'll think about amplifying the voltage.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Deb.
Quick note before we move to the next founder, it's this really hard thing. I think, again, GPT wrappers embracing their wrapperness is something that I'm encouraging a lot of people to do. And I think it's because, again, you want to get to that story of what is it unique to you or to what you're building that an OpenAI or an Anthropic or Google will never care about. They will never build for that.
But this is why I personally think that it's okay to fight against GPT wrappers, saying that because we are more than GPT wrapper.
Exactly.
It's not just...
I don't know. I think, and maybe, this is semantics, but I think it'd be good for them to embrace it, at least psychologically, so they can go faster. Because I think when they tell it too much of the story of our fine tune or our data is going to be competitive, then they don't get into the more. And so I almost want them to say we're GPT wrapper just so that they get over it, right? It's like, because otherwise, again, there's a temptation as a founder to like overtell that story.
Or there is another thing. It's just go make money as GPT wrapper and don't raise VC money.
Right.
Because to be fair, if you make an app that is GPT wrapper and it can tell you your horoscope every day, but just uses ChatGPT behind it, you can make $1 million. Just like build it in a nice UI.
Does anyone use the calorie counting AI app? Anyone use this thing called Cal? There's like a 17-year-old founder who built like a calorie counting thing, which is like the most simple use of an object recognition API. That's all it is. It's an app. He's making like $2 million a year.
Yeah,
of this very simple mobile application that he just points and clicks. And again, he's just calling it API.
This is what I think, in my mind, real GPT wrappers is that.
Yeah.
Don't raise VC money, make $2 million.
A lot of those founders are going to be much wealthier than VC backed.
Yeah. Because they can, own it 100% and make $2 million for themselves, while, VC backed, but VC backed have to build more than
the expectation is you're going all in, and in that way your pitch has
for 10 years, right? Because all those GPT wrappers, they have shelf life, very short shelf life, like a year or 2 years, and then they will be obsolete.
And it's a different set of experiments, right? Even if you were investing in a GPT wrapper business as an individual angel investing in an LLC, again, people don't think about it this way. Investors are thinking, what are my dollars? What's the experiment I'm paying for? And if you think that way, it has to be a grand experiment. If it's I'm giving you $1 million at a 6 million pre, that has to be a more significant experiment. That if I meet you and you have a GPT wrapper business and I put $200K and I want disbursements, that's a different set of experience. Make me money versus sell me a vision.